My dad threw a fit because everyone was complimenting the cake my 9-year-old daughter baked on her birthday instead of paying attention to him, by user PR0F4N17Y. My daughter had her 9th birthday last week. Since she was very young she accompanied me in nearly everything I did. As I like to cook and bake she also had already plenty of experience with helping by making various dishes and cakes. For her last birthday however she wanted to go first time all solo. Meaning I was to sit and wait in case she had a question, but everything else was her. She was incredibly proud and so was I. From picking the recipe, measuring, mixing etc. The only thing I did was pull it out of the oven. She then proceeded to make the frosting and decorate the cake again all by herself. Needless to say everybody was very proud of her and she was really looking forward to share her cake with the family and chip in with everyone about her process. My mom is a baker also and she heavily complimented my daughter, how wonderful the cake looked and tasted, and soon all of us will be coming to daughter for advice. Daughter was glooming with joy. Everybody complimented daughter as the cake was indeed delicious and beautiful. That was apparently too much for my dad who started to get increasingly fuzzy. First off he started his maybe you are trying to poison us with this jokes, and I shushed him. Then when everybody asked daughter about how she did it he got louder and louder interrupting her to tell us all that he is also capable of making cake / his cakes will always taste better / it wasn't even a difficult cake etc. Every time somebody else told him to be quiet as it was daughter's moment. So he waited to let the stupid cake talk pass and then started interrupting every conversation that followed just to make it all about him. When that failed he got louder and talked with increased volume so he would be heard. He even kind of pounded when she opened her presents as nobody asked what he thought of the presents. So yeah, dear people of Reddit, that is my dad. Trapped in the body of a 6'5" old man with the mind of a bratty 3-year-old. Edit. I am sorry I cannot reply to everyone individually but here it is evening and I am busy getting dinner done etc. One thing I wanted to point however is, yes, my dad has been like this all his life. I remember when I was in elementary school my teachers picked me out for a gifted kids program. My dad had me for weeks on end look through his university notes to show me how much better his understanding of maths was in university compared to first grader me. Hence prove I am not at all more gifted than he was and is. Sorry for my not native speaker English BTW. And I have to say sorry, my phone fell into my youngest trusting hands that day and she decided to help mommy by cleaning it up, in the dishwasher. So we have no pictures that day and the cake was eaten up instantly. My entitled neighbor was mad that I took my shirt off of in my own house, by user particular_pen_2942. So Wednesday I, 17F, was sick. I had a fever and just felt really bad so I was spending most of the day lying in bed but around noon I moved to the living room couch cause it was getting really hot in my room and it was cool in the living room, and some context our living room is filled with large windows that point to the street and my neighbor's house. So I went to the couch and I still felt hot so I took off my shirt. At that point I was only wearing short shorts and my bra. So I was laying down for a few minutes when there was a knock on the door and my mom went to go answer it. The living room is right next to the door so it wasn't hard to hear the conversation. So my mom opened the door and the neighbor who we'll call Karen was there and said, "Hi Susan, my mom if you need clarification, how are you doing? I came over to tell your daughter to cover up." My mom then reasonably said excuse me to which Karen replied yes it's kind of disgusting what she's doing exposing herself like that. My mom now a bit less patient said, "Oh I'm sorry I didn't know that you could tell me what to do with my kids in my house." Karen then replied, "Oh no that's not what I'm trying to do it's just that my husband's office is right across your windows and it's hard for him to concentrate on work when there's a naked teen on the other side of his window." My mom just about as dumbfounded as I was at this point told Karen okay 3 things, first my daughter's not naked, and even if she was it wouldn't matter because she lives here and she can wear whatever she wants. Second, what is your husband a 45-year-old man doing looking at my 17-year-old daughter in her underwear, and third, get off my property because we're done here. And with that, my mom slammed the door in Karen's face. We haven't heard from them since then and on Friday my mom bought curtains for the living room windows. So yeah that was my encounter with our neighbors. I'm upset that her boyfriend who tried to kill me isn't invited to Christmas brunch. By user COVID-19 Ice a bit scary. Not sure if this is the right sub. Just looking to vent. Obligatory mention I'm typing on phone. A little backstory, my mum has always put her love interests and relationships before her children. I, 27F, have one older sister, 30F. Has been this way since I can remember. She has uprooted us from home to move to a new city for a man she loved who was married, made me stay the night at boyfriends' houses that I wasn't comfortable at, and went as far as ditching my sister and I in a foreign country in a hostel while she went off with a man she just met for a one-night stand. She also slept with a guy I was seeing when I was around 17/18. Luckily he was of legal age. You get the picture. The thing is, she's also incredibly intelligent, professional, built an amazing career for herself in academia, and has and can be very supportive and loving of both my sister and I. She's given us both so many opportunities in life as a single mother, so it feels terrible to even point out these issues I have with her. Cut to 2019, I'm now married with a wonderful husband. My sister has a long-term partner. M has been dating this young man. They both live overseas where she is currently working. M has told us of their turbulent relationship, and as always, we watch as she shapeshifts to fit the type of women she thinks he'll like. Like clockwork, we see her uproot her life, schedules, everything, to pursue this unhealthy relationship. She slowly but surely cuts us out of her life. It must be said that she has been physically, emotionally, and verbally abusive throughout my life, and this behavior has continued toward her partner. He also is abusive toward her. My sister and I have gone through the motions and tried to get her help, but she doesn't believe in mental illness, nor does she listen to anything we have to say. Our whole lives were spent trying to keep her stable, but now that we have our own lives, for our own mental stability, we have just left it to her. That's been a whole thing in itself. Cut to the pressing issue. 2 years ago her boyfriend tried and threatened to kill myself, husband, my sister, her partner, and my mum, in a drunken rage in the country they lived in at the time. He was charged with 5 counts of attempted murder. Most traumatic moment of my life. Still dealing with the after effects, PTSD, anxiety, panic attacks, insomnia. M pleaded with court to get him off charges, and they were dropped. She went back to him pretty quick. Now, M and boyfriend are back in my home country. They're trying to build a life here, and M has stated she has moved back to work on relationships with my sister and I. Bullshit lol. The boyfriend sent a shitty 2-line email apology. Through therapy I have decided to forgive them both, and have worked on my relationship with my mum and even seen the boyfriend a few times. This took a long time to get to this stage. My sister doesn't want to set eyes on the boyfriend and I 100% support her decision. She is still working on relationship with mum. Christmas is coming up and it's tradition in our family to have a family brunch. Never missed a year except once when mum was stuck overseas due to COVID. So I call mum to chat about plans and she is now shitty that her boyfriend is not invited. He is not welcome at our home, ever. I think that's a fair boundary. She has said things like I can't keep choosing between you and boyfriend and how long is it gonna take, he did that thing over 2 years ago and what does he have to do for you to accept him? Etc. So now I doubt she's going to come to Christmas, and I think this may be the last straw in our relationship. I've worked so hard on my own mental stability after all this shit and I no longer want to be a second option for her. I just don't know how I could live with myself if I cut her off, but I may have to. Thanks for letting me vent. Edit. A couple QS about how he got off on 5 attempted murder charges. To answer, I don't really know. I left the country straight after the incident and went through the police process which took about 2 days. We pressed charges at the station, then flew home. From there, all info about the court process I got was through my mother. Looking back I'm not sure how much of what she said is true. It must be said that the country this happened in is a tiny Pacific island that is well known for its shit policing and justice system. For example, it took 2 to 3 hours for the police to show up while I was screaming down the phone that he was outside taunting us and trying to get in. Domestic violence is very common in this country, and not a lot is done about it. There are also not a lot of police resources. My mother is also best friends with the chief of police's wife. There's a language barrier too. I speak English and the home country speaks mostly broken English and their native tongue. At the time I was too traumatized to pursue legal action and I stupidly trusted my mother to push for the charges to stick instead of trying to get him off them. Entitled Mama Bear gets upset that she was called out for leaving her shopping cart in a parking space rather than returning it. Turns to local FB group to complain about the rude person, doesn't get the reception and sympathy she was hoping for, by user distinct_author_3396. I was looking at my town's Facebook group and there was an anonymous post from some entitled mother complaining that she shouldn't be expected to return her shopping cart to the corral because she had her 2 kids with her already in the car and fussing. Apparently, someone saw her leaving her cart right there in the parking lot instead of taking 30 seconds to return it to one of several strategically placed corrals and apparently called her out on it. Last I checked, there were well over 100 replies to her post. Most were basically saying YTA. You're the $a hole. Lady complained to California Fish Grill manager to make me move tables and got arrested, by user to recovering GAT. So this just happened, and I'm pretty bent about it. I went to California Fish Grill, CFG, for a late lunch. It was a pretty standard ordeal. I ordered my meal, grabbed a drink, and made sure to grab a small table with only 2 seats so I wouldn't take up too much space. Not that it really mattered, because the restaurant was fairly empty with plenty of tables. As I'm casually sitting at this small table for 2, an older lady came up and asked me to move. I was a bit puzzled because she came in after me. The table I was at appeared to be untaken, and there were plenty of other available tables. I asked why, and she said she wanted a table big enough for her and her son. At this point, I told her I wasn't going to inconvenience myself when there were plenty of other open tables. She could simply go sit elsewhere with her son. So she started getting frustrated with me, and telling me I needed to respect my elders and that her son would not be able to sit at another table. I just ignored her though, because it was not my problem. So this lady walks off and tells the manager that I took her table and was refusing to give it back to her. She brings the manager over and explained that her son is very upset that I took their table, and it was hurting his feelings. We had a few minutes of back and forth before the manager gives me this look of I don't make enough money to deal with this, please just move. So whatever, I get up, go to another table, and this lady just glares at me. I glare back, and she's sitting all by herself. At first, I thought she was just a liar and didn't have a son. Maybe she just wanted to abuse what little power she had. After like 10 minutes though, this guy walks in with a full suit and tie, maybe 40 to 50 years old, and approaches this lady and calls her mom. They exchange some words, and he starts glaring at me too. At this point, I'm just annoyed and trying to eat my lunch in peace. So her son, a grown-ass man, shouts at me across the restaurant and asks if I think it's funny to disrespect his mom like that. And I just look at him puzzled because I have no idea what he's talking about. He shouts again, yeah, you in the hat. So I just ignore him because this is stupid. As he continued to harass me, I decided to just flip him the bird. This lady and her son lost their shit, got up yelling, screaming, and generally causing a scene. The son started threatening to kick my ass. He asked me if I liked being such a smart ass, so of course, I had to let him know it was better than being a dumb ass. Anyway, this commotion resulted in the police being called by the manager. They showed up after an unclear amount of time, walk right up to this lady and her son, and ask them to leave. The lady starts going off about how I stole her table, was harassing her, and how started it. Now, this poor police officer looks down at me, casually sitting at my table, eating my salmon, and tells this ancient woman that I don't seem to be bothering anyone. So the lady signals out the manager, hoping that they will corroborate her story, and the manager explains in great detail that this woman had come in and started harassing me. She asks the woman and her son to leave, and they both refuse because they paid for their food and said they had a right to sit at any table for as long as they wanted. After refusing to leave, this hag of a woman and her son were cuffed and escorted away. I made sure to move to her table as she left, just to rub the salt in the wound. TLDR, hag woman harassed me in a restaurant because her adult son wanted to sit at my table.